Today we're going to have a look at looking at these circular functions, these trigonometric functions, but this time we're going to be having a look at them using technology. So in this case we've got this function here, y equals 3 minus 10 cos of 2x plus 1 between 0 and 5. So there's a few interesting things that we can take away from this. The first interesting thing is the constant out the front. And this is our median, so the median equals 3. And we can also see that the amplitude is 10. Now, most of you will notice that there's a negative in front of the 10. That is going to come into place. That means there's some kind of reflection happening. You might remember which reflection can actually happen to a cosine function, but in any case, we'll just keep that in the back of our mind. That means we can work out the max and min lines quite easily. The max line is going to be 3 plus 10, 13, and the min line is going to be 3 minus 10, or negative 7. Alrighty, and so then all we're left with is axes, intercepts, and endpoints. Alrighty, so for those, well, axes, intercepts, that's just our x-ints and y-ints, but for our endpoints, that's going to be when x. For endpoints, it's going to be when x equals 0 and x equals 5. Alrighty. So, at this point, I would chuck it into some sort of grapher. I'm using Desmos, but obviously you could be using your calculators. And you see the view at this point is quite bad. This is the point I would click on this view window and change my view window. So in this case, my x-axis I want from 0, my x-axis I want, what's it called? I don't want that as a label. So the x-axis I want from 0 to 5, but what you'll notice is if you put 0 to 5, you don't get a very good view of it. The main reason being that it doesn't actually want to show you everything. So I always tend to go 1 before and 1 after, or something around there. For bigger numbers, obviously, it might be a little bit different. You also see I'm not even getting to my minimum and my maximum time, so let's put negative 10, and I know it goes up to 13, so maybe up to 15. Alrighty, so we go. That's a pretty good view of our function. In Desmos I can put in the domain, but obviously you can see that the domain ends about here. And using the trace tool I can actually see about where it is. So 5, it's about 2.956. Alrighty, and at 0 we get negative 2.403. And so now at this point we can just start collecting all of that information that we want. We know what the maximums are, minimums. Now this point over here doesn't actually count, right, because it's an x-intercept, but it's actually beyond the focus of this question. And one of the things I was saying about before was that the cos function, it normally has positive, but it has been reflected. In this case, it's actually been reflected vertically. Alrighty. So let's have a look. So to start with my sketch, I'm just going to put in my median and max and min lines. So that's y equals 3, y equals 13, and y equals negative 7. Next I might put in my y-intercept. Then I can start putting in other pieces of information like all my x-intercepts. So I've put in my x-intercepts as well. And so what was left? I've still got to do, my endpoints. So my first endpoint I've already got because that was my when x equals 0, which is the y-intercept. So then I've all got to do is work out my x-intercept. And if you have a look on your graph, you probably see that you can't quite do it. I'm using trace to kind of cheat. But there's a few ways you could do it. Something you could do is put in an x equals function. In this case, x equals 5. And then you can see that you can use the intercept tool to actually work it out. It's 5, 2.956. Alrighty. And so from here, now it's just about completing the shape. And as you can see, it's increasing here. Now it doesn't actually ask for the maximum points. Oh no, sorry. Wants the maximum minimum values. Alrighty, so let's put those in as well. So using the max and min tool, so you can see there's two maximums and one minimum, 3 turning points. And now that I've put in all of my interesting points, I've got my 2 maximums, one minimum, my 2 endpoints, and all my x-intercepts and y-intercepts. I can now go through and draw in my cosine function. And you'll notice that it should look a lot similar to the one that you had in your graph. An interesting point, because we were given a domain, and the domain is continuous, I'm going to use proper endpoints to put those in. Alrighty. And there's my final graph. It's quite full on, but there you can see a little bit of our knowledge plus a bit of tech skills. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.